The ember wick of the Sabbath day flickers low against the salt-crusted window pane, where the dust of a week's labor settles in the silence of the nave. It is 7 in the evening, and the shadows are long and lean, like the masts of ghost ships docked in the harbor of our weariness. We stand in the half-light, 4 voices woven into a single rope of sound, waiting for the vibration that begins not in the throat, but in the ancient rhythmic pull of the moon upon the marrow. There is a rustle of sheet music, a sound like dry leaves on a beach, before the first note rises from the wooden floorboards to claim the air. The call is not a thunderclap, but a whisper of shifting silt, an invitation carved in the wet sand of a heart that has forgotten how to swim. Walk with me away from the paved certainties of the town, away from the locked gates and the ledger books, toward the place where the horizon loses its hem and the sky bleeds into the brine. I hear the basses first, a low and steady swell, like the tectonic shifting of the ocean floor, anchoring the promise in the deep cold where the light rarely reaches, but the pressure is a firm embrace. They sing of the stones we have carried in our pockets, the heavy grievances that sink us, and they bid us drop them into the kelp forests of the forgotten. Then the tenors rise, a current of warm water moving northward, carrying the melody of the shoreline, the sound of sandals clicking against the pebbles of Galilee. They are the movement, the stride, the kinetic energy of a footfall that does not hesitate when the ground becomes fluid. They sing of the nets we spent our lives mending, the tangled threads of our own making, and the radical grace of leaving them behind to rot in the sun, while we pursue a path that leaves no footprint. The altos enter with the scent of the evening mist, a violet harmony that's the gap between the depths and the spray. Theirs is the voice of the twilight, the 7 p.m. realization that the day is gone and the infinite is all that remains. They sing of the salt that stings the eyes but heals the wound, the bitter beauty of a surrender that feels like drowning, until the lungs learn to breathe the spirit. And above them all the sopranos break like the white crest of a breaking wave, a crystalline light that shatters against the rocks of our resistance. They are the spray, the foam, the ephemeral beauty of the now, calling us upward to see the expanse of the mercy that has no shore. Together we are a tide, an SATV communion of the desperate and the devout, moving in synchronized longing toward the great deep. Follow me, the melody insists, through the marshlands of your doubt, where the reeds hiss with the secrets of your failures. Follow me, where the air turns sharp and the scent of ozone and iodine replaces the stale incense of the cloister. The sea is not a metaphor for peace, but a crucible of power, a restless majesty that demands everything and returns it transformed. We are walking toward the edge of the world, leaving the artificial glow of the street lamps for the bioluminescence of the divine. Every measure we sing is a fathom deeper into the mystery. We are no longer individuals with names and social standings. We are collective resonance, a human organ played by the wind of a Galilean ghost who still haunts the docks of our modern souls. The rhythm of Ray Rep's ghost chant pulses in our blood, a folk-hewn simplicity that cuts through the ornament of the ages. It is the music of the common man standing before the uncommon God, the fisherman's call translated into the Sunday night sigh of the city. We sing until the walls of the church dissolve into the fog, until the pews are but driftwood and the altar is a reef of coral. The sea does not ask for our permission to be vast, it simply is. And the call does not ask for our readiness, it simply commands. We are being pulled by the undertow of a love that is too heavy to be buoyant and too light to be buried. Listen to the way the harmony resolves, not with the finality of a closing door, but with the openness of a harbor mouth. The 7 p.m. choir is a vessel of weathered wood, leaking but sanctified, sailing on a sea of voices into the dark, where the stars reflect in the black water like fallen coins. We follow the sound of the water, the crashing of the eternal against the temporal, until the song is no longer something we do, but something we are. The salt is on our lips, the dampness is in our clothes, and the horizon is finally vanished into the embrace of the deep. There is a rustle of sheet music, the sound like dry leaves on a beach, before the first note rises from the wooden floorboards. The dust of 2 millennia has settled into the creases of my own palms. Yet the gravel of the Via Dolorosa feels fresh beneath the soles of a soul weary from the winters of its own making. There is a specific gravity to this season, a density of atmosphere, where the air turns into thick cedar smoke and the scent of bitter hyssop. You do not merely walk beside me. You have reached into the hollow architecture of my chest and extracted the leaden weights I've named and the ones I've buried in silence. The wood of the beam is not a solitary object of history, but a porous vessel absorbing the salt of my particular tears, the jagged edges of my betrayals and the cold iron of my indifference. I watch your shoulders shift under the impossible geometry of my grief, the grain of the timber singing a low, agonizing cello note against the bone of your strength. The road is not a straight line across the map of Jerusalem, but a winding ascent through the corridors of my own fractured memory. Every stone turned by your passing foot is a day I surrendered to despair. Every drop of sweat that strikes the parched earth is a ransom for a moment I thought was lost to the void. You are the great alchemist of agony, turning the dross of my failures into the gold of a shared pilgrimage. As the sun of 2026 hangs low and heavy, casting long, skeletal shadows across our modern pavements, The friction of the crossbar against your skin echoes the friction of my own conscience. You do not ask for a lighter load. You ask only for my honesty, as you heft the crushing bulk of my arrogance onto that reddened shoulder, your breath hitching in a rhythm that matches the thumping of my own fearful heart. There is a silence that accompanies this climb, a quiet so profound, it swallows the shouting of the crowds and the metallic clatter of the centurion's gear. In this stillness, I realize that the splinters entering your flesh are carved from the trees of my own stubborn gardens. You are carrying the weight of my midnights, the exhaustion of my unanswered prayers, and the dull ache of a world that has forgotten how to kneel. The ascent to Calvary is an education in the physics of mercy. How one man can the gap between the infinite weight of sin and the fragile capacity of human endurance. I see the muscles of your neck corded like ancient roots anchoring the heavens to the earth, while my own hands remain empty, lightened by your refusal to let me shatter under the burden I constructed. The flickering candle in the window of my Lenten vigil casts a glow that mimics the fire in your eyes. A fire not of judgment, but of a searing, purifying love that burns through the facade of my adequacy. We move together toward the crest of the hill, the sky bruising into deep purples and bruised indigos, reflecting the colors of your skin where the lash has written its terrible poetry. You are the Lamb who carries the lion's share of the world's darkness, stepping deliberately into the teeth of the storm so that I might find shelter in the lee of your wounds. The road is steep and the flint is sharp, yet you find a footing in the midst of my instability, steadying the universe, even as your own knees buckle under the pressure of my specific transgressions.
This is the alchemy of the road.
My sorrow becomes your geography.
Your exhaustion becomes my rest.
I watch the way the timber scrapes against the ground, leaving a trail in the dust that serves as a map for my return to grace. Every stumble you take is a corrective for my own aimless wandering, a divine pause that allows me to catch my breath while you lose yours. The air is thick with the anticipation of the nails, yet the grace of this movement, this slow, deliberate trudge toward the end of all things, is the most beautiful movement ever choreographed by the divine. You are the atlas of my personal failures, lifting the world of my regrets and placing it upon the altar of your own body, turning the road to Calvary into a that spans the abyss of my own making. As the shadows of Lent deepen and the liturgical clocks tick toward the Great Friday, the resonance of your footsteps becomes the only pulse that matters. I am stripped of my excuses, left only with the stark reality of your sacrifice and the weight you have stripped from my back to place upon your own. The journey is long, the hill is high, and the wood is heavy, but the love that fuels this climb is a fire that cannot be quenched by the waters of death. I follow in the wake of your suffering, a beggar enriched by your voluntary poverty, watching as you carry the totality of my existence toward the place where the sun refuses to shine, so that I might one day wake in a light that never fades. The road is your gift, the burden is my life, and the Savior is the one who refuses to let go of either until the work is finished. The digital flicker fades as the heavy bronze of mediolanum swings upon the hinges of the soul, and the static of the modern street is drowned by the rhythmic pulse of a heart tuned to the ancient meters of the morning. Here in the brief space between the scrolling thumb and the eternal eye, we encounter the governor who became the shepherd, not by the will of the flesh, but by the sudden cry of a child echoing through the basilica, like a divine decree. You seek power in the thunder of the forum, but find it instead in the stillness of a man who stood before the purple of the empire and forbade the threshold to a bloodied Caesar until the crown bowed lower than the cross. This is the wisdom that does not trickle from the parched lips of the sophist, but flows like the golden abundance of a celestial hive, where the bees of the spirit deposited their nectar upon the infant mouth of a sleeping saint. We walk through the architecture of his sentences, where every stone is a syllogism, and every window is a hymn designed to catch the first light of the eternal. Rerum Conditor, before the world wakes to its toil. There is a way to this tribute that defies the lightness of the screen as we navigate the corridors of his rhetoric, where the law of the land was transmuted into the liturgy of the land. He did not merely speak of the light, he fashioned the very lamps that hold it through the antiphonal chanting of 1,000 voices rising in a single tide, to wash away the dry dust of varying shadows. Witness the power that commanded the earth to yield the hidden bones of martyrs, so that the foundations of our faith might be bolstered by the crimson testimony of the soil itself. His wisdom was a sharp blade wrapped in silk, a gentle hand that guided the restless mind of the African rhetorician, from the labyrinth of the Manichees to the clarity of the Milanese font, where the waters of rebirth still the storms of a wandering heart. We are the heirs to that quiet intensity, the beneficiaries of a man who understood that the true defense of the city lies not in its walls, but in the sanctity of its hymns and the unyielding posture of its bishop. In this fleeting moment of devotion, the YouTube horizon collapses, and the hashtags of the world are silenced by the gravity of the mitre and the staff. We explore not a map of dead geography, but a topography of the inner life, where the honeycomb of the word is tasted in the silence of the cell. Ambrose speaks across the chasm of the centuries, telling us that the emperor is within the church, not above it, and that the power of the believer is found in the bended knee rather than the clenched fist. His legacy is the fragrance of the sanctuary and the structure of the prayer that holds the dawn in its hands, preventing the darkness from reclaiming the world. We pause in this digital atrium to feel the vibration of the Ambrosian chant moving through the marrow of our bones, a brief but monumental encounter with the architect of the Western spirit, who knew that to lead men, one must first be led by the word. The tribute is short, but the resonance is infinite as we breathe in the incense of his courage and the honey of his grace. It is a call to the deep, to the hidden places where the wisdom of the ages waits to be rediscovered. by those who tire of the shallow currents of the day. As the video concludes and the pixels rearrange themselves into the next distraction, the image of the bishop remains etched upon the retina of the spirit, a sentinel of the secret, a master of the melody, and a father to all who seek the power that is perfected in humility. May the nectar of his eloquence soften the hardness of our speech, and may the iron of his resolve fortify the weakness of our will as we step back into the world, carrying the quiet fire of Milan within the sanctuary of our own private silence. The amber light of 7 o'clock descends through the clerestory glass, casting long and leaning shadows across the well-worn oak of the pews, where the faithful gather in the hushed gravity of the Lord's day's end. There is a specific scent to this hour, a mixture of extinguished beeswax, the faint metallic tang of the thuribal's lingering ghost, and the damp wool of coats worn by those who seek a final sanctuary before the secular week begins its relentless march. The choir stands in the loft, their breath a collective petition, preparing to weave the melodies of McGargill and the ancient echoes of the servant's heart into a tapestry that's the silence of the sanctuary with the noise of the world outside. Here, the rosary is not merely a string of beads, but a rhythmic pulse, a tactile map of sorrows and glories that we trace with calloused thumbs, seeking the mother's hand in the gathering twilight of the nave. Will you permit the bending of the knee to be more than a ritual motion, a true descent into the dust where the feet of the weary rest, heavy with the grime of the road in this late hour? The Sunday 7 p.m. choir sings not for the applause of the crowd, but for the solace of the broken, their voices lifting the heavy weight of the servant's song, as if it were a shared mantle of indigo silk. We are pilgrims of the evening, travelers who find our home in the cadence of a brother's voice and the steady resonance of a sister's prayer, understanding that to lead is to follow, and to possess, to surrender everything at the foot of the cross. The music swells, rising like incense toward the vaulted ceiling, carrying the names of the forgotten and the burdens of the heavy laden into the heart of the immaculate, who stood beneath the wood of sacrifice with the silent, piercing grace. Between the decades of the rosary, the silence breathes a profound and hollow space, where the spirit of Mary's feet takes root in the marrow of our bones, asking if we too can say yes to the unknown and the arduous. The hymn is over the chasm of our own selfishness, a structural grace that demands we look into the eyes of the stranger and see the reflection of the Christ who washed the feet of those who would soon desert him. It is a song of radical hospitality, a liturgical embrace that defies the cold indifference of the city streets, murmuring just beyond the heavy bronze doors of the narthex. We sing of being the light for one another, not a blinding glare of judgment, but the soft, flickering glow of a votive candle that guides a stumbling footstep through the thicket of a Tuesday's despair or a Wednesday's loneliness. The 7 p.m. choir understands the exhaustion of the laborer and the quiet desperation of the seeker, for they too have navigated the complexities of the passing week and bring their fatigue as an offering to the altar. Their harmony is an architecture of mercy, built note by note upon the foundation of McGargel's vision, where the servant is the master of love and the master is the servant of all. Each word of the lyrics is a seed planted in the fertile dark of the Sabbath evening, watered by the tears of the penitent and warmed by the communal fire of the Eucharist. We are weaving our lives into the mysteries of the Rosary, finding our own trials in the Garden of Gethsemane and our own small triumphs in the light of the resurrection, all while the clock ticks toward the midnight that marks the end of our rest. Let the melody be a balm for the spirit that has forgotten how to weep, a gentle rain that softens the parched earth of a heart hardened by the cynicism of the age. As the final verses of the servant's song rise to meet the shadows of the choir loft, there is a sense of a circle closing, a holy enclosure where the Marian devotion of the Rosary meets the active ministry of the disciple. We are being sent forth, not as individuals isolated in our own concerns, but as a body knitted together by the recurring themes of grace and the shared breath of this late-night liturgy. The incense is faded, the candles are trimmed to their wicks, and the silence returns to the stone walls, but the song remains, an indelible mark upon the soul that whispers of the beauty found in serving, the strength found in kneeling, and the peace found in the shadow of the Mother of Sorrows. Beneath the gaze of the stained glass saints, the choir ascends the narrow stairs, their sheet music tucked away like hidden treasures, while the last echoes of the Sunday hymn vibrate in the cooling air of the cathedral. This is the hour of transition, where the sacred and the mundane collide, and the servant's promise must be lived out in the marketplace and the home. The Rosary's rhythm stays in the pulse, a drumbeat of Av that sustains the spirit when the music stops and the lights are finally dimmed. We walk out into the cool night air, transformed by the gravity of the 7 p.m. prayer, carrying the quiet majesty of the Catholic hymn into the dark. In the hollow of the hill, where the cedar drinks the sun in silence, 2 gray-clad figures walk the periphery of a promise long deferred, their footprints filling with the fine red dust of a kingdom that had forgotten how to bloom. They were the hushed prelude to the thunder, the narrow mountain path that leads at last to the wide and terrifying sea of the infinite Joachim, whose heart was a furrow plowed by decades of drought, sought the solitude of the high places, where the wind smells of salt and the bleaching of bones, offering up a childless sorrow to the architect of the stars. He carried the weight of a lineage that seemed to end in his own